I I love this so much. It's like just so on brand. Like,
Yeah, this is it.
You mentioned
one of us. One of us.
you mentioned Return of the Jedi, so I had to break out my the best character from that film series, Salacious B. Crumb.
Oh, look at you. Look at you, Rex.
Love it. So good.
Look
Put
at
him
you.
down. That was really good. Matt, thank you so much for coming on. I have a couple questions.
Absolutely.
First, I feel like a Jackson Pollock of neurodivergence. Where I can be very open, but then again, if I'm in a new group setting, I'm very timid and trying to feel it out. How do you run into that kind of where somebody's like extrovert and introvert and all over the place?
Yeah. Well, I mean, because most people are ambiverts. Most people feel comfortable in some situations more so than others. Like I remember, like when I was in my 20s and I was single, like, people like, let's go to the club. And what little game I have doesn't work in the club. Like I'm witty. I'm more handsome than hot. So like I need like a house party is a better place for me to meet girls than like this club where I'm like, and then like, oh, the girl just gets spit on. And no, I mean, like, unless you're into that, and I'm not here to kink shame anybody, like, so it's just like, so I stopped going to the club because I don't feel comfortable there. That's not a good vibe for me. And I started like going more to like, let's have a dinner party. Let's have some people over for board night. And like, and like that stuff worked a lot better. And when you feel better, you do better. When you do better, you feel better. It's a virtuous cycle, not a vicious one. So like, it's like the more neurodivergent you are, the fewer spaces you're going to fit, but it means that when you fit in a space, you fit the max, right? Going to a summer camp for gifted learners when I was growing up changed my life, right? And I'd be like, oh yeah, camp was fun. I'm like, no, camp wasn't fun. Camp was defined who I am as a human, right? Like, so it's like, you may trade some quantity, but you get more quality out of it.
Wow. That's very interesting. Kind of, your ability to kind of know yourself really well there. I like when you said I'm more handsome than hot, knowing that like, that's how the club scene works. And then finding like where you fit and then addressing that, childhood experience where the summer camp for gifted kids was amazing. And really like a coming of age or something for you. I have a daughter with ADHD, and the one thing I found that really works is for me and for her is like she just needs a friend. So I just need to be the friend. Otherwise, if I'm being the parent constantly, it's a fight all the time. And if I can reach out to her as a friend and listen to her funny stories and laugh and then kind of go along with her, oh my gosh, our relationship is amazing. Yeah. But the moment I try to step in and be a father, it's like, wow, you're the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, because what people really desire is connection, right? Nobody likes taking orders, right? And
speak for yourself.
I won't. You can't make me, Rex. Right. But like one of the things I like to, when I do workshops, I'm like, who wants to go hang out with me after this talk? And people sort of stare at me like, what? And at the end of that talk, I'm like, who wants to go hang out with me now? And they're all like, well, absolutely. I was like, because I went from being a stranger to, I made myself three-dimensional, right? And when you present yourself as not this sort of top-down, I am father, I am God, paternalistic, right? Like, then you become more human and more three-dimensional. And your daughter goes, right, Dad wants to hear what the funny thing that happened in chem today. And Dad wants to read my Little Pony fan fiction or whatever the heck your kiddo is into, right? That connection is a deposit in the relationship bank that allows you to then ask that, like, hey, sweetie, you got to do your homework or put the dishes away. Like, the therapy I do with my clients doesn't look like traditional therapy, because neurodivergent kids, they need me to read their fan fiction. They need me to hear their theories about Has-Been Hotel, right? And if I spend 40 minutes on that, then I can use that last 10 minutes back. Listen, we've had an awesome conversation about Has-Been. Now I need to talk to you a little bit about where we go from here as it pertains to fill in blank, right? And that's a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah. How did you get into this field? Like what was your catalyst, your spark that got you into this?
Oh man, like we always joke in my field, all research is me search, right? So I grew up as a gifted kid. I was identified gifted in second grade and then diagnosed with ADHD in high school, which really explained a lot. So the word for that is twice exceptional. The idea is that one neurodivergence you have predicts having much more neurodivergences. It's kind of like tattoos. There are a lot of people who have no tattoos, and there's a lot of people who have a lot of tattoos, right? You know, that's kind of what it is. It's like, okay, I'm gifted. Oh, which makes me much more likely to be ADHD, which makes me much more likely to have Tourette's, which makes me much more likely to be depressed, which makes me much more likely to have social anxiety. Okay, all of these things sort of factor into it. But really, like, both of my parents were clinical psychologists growing up. So I grew up in a very psychologically affirming, emotionally affirming, neurodivergent affirming household. But when I went to spend time with my friends and out in the community, I realized like almost nobody else lives this way. I was like, holy crap, like, let me be the voice and the adult these other kids needed, because I had the adults I needed, right? And I still got my butt kicked. So to me, it's like, let me be that adult for the kids, and then increasingly adults who needed that person. Because a lot of adults, in supporting their own kids' neurodivergent journey, end up trying to heal their own childhood wounds. Because it's like, if you're, like ADHD kids get yelled at 17 times more than neurotypical students. And if you're that grown up ADHD adult and you're like, that's why I'm such a people pleaser and a perfectionist, because I just don't want to get screamed at, then you can feel that lock into place, right? For like how it's going to inform parenting your kiddo.
Yeah. I can identify with that. Gosh, I could sit here for another hour and talk, but I think we can stop it here. Thank you so much, Matt, for being on.
Thank you, Rick. Very nice.
Yeah.
It was my pleasure. You guys made this so easy, and it was, I mean, that raced by, right? It was like, oh, like literally, I was like, oh gosh, we're Rex is back already.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it was a delight. It was a delight for us.
Yeah, man,
thank
super,
you.
super
my pleasure.
helpful.
I hope we get to do it again sometime.
Thanks for joining us today. Hey, do us a favor and take a second to subscribe to our podcast and the Utah Marriage Commission YouTube channel at Utah Marriage Commission, where you can watch this and every episode of the show. Be sure to smash the like button, leave a comment, and share this episode with a friend. You can also follow and interact with us on Instagram at Stronger Marriage Life and Facebook at Stronger Marriage. So be sure to share with us which topics you loved or which guests we should have on the show next. If you want even more resources to improve your marriage or relationship connection, visit strongermarriage.org, where you'll find free workshops, e-courses, in-depth webinars, relationship surveys, and more. Each episode of Stronger Marriage Connection is hosted and sponsored by the Utah Marriage Commission at Utah State University. And finally, a big thanks to our producer, Rex Polanis, and the team at Utah State University, and you, our audience. You make this show possible. The opinions, findings, conclusions, and recommendations expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views of the Utah Marriage Commission.